Hi, everyone. This is Visser. I'm really excited for you guys to meet her today. I am Miranda with the Valuable Voices podcast, and I just love connecting with especially other women that are coaching, that are entrepreneurs, just to hear their story. I just believe everybody has a voice, and your voice is powerful. So thank you, Anne, for being on today.
Thank you so much, Miranda, for having me on the Valuable Voices podcast. Love what you're doing here. I think it's so impactful for all of us to use our voice.
Amen. Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you. And I love people like you that are willing to share their story. So I was asking, how do we get connected? Because I'm in so many groups and I love when I just get a random, hey, I want to be on your podcast. I love, love, love that. So I just want to dive in and I know it's kind of open-ended, but kind of tell us, just give us a little background about where you were, and then we'll eventually say where you're at today and what you're doing.
Sure, absolutely. So, I shamelessly chased a young man. I was 15. I wanted a date.
Love your honesty. Let's get right into it.
Then 3 years later, we married. So yes. And then I still remember the photographer saying, Miranda, I've never seen a couple look at each other the way the two of you looked at each other. So we were just crazy in love. And then fast forward, I was pregnant 1 month after we were married and very, very sick. And then my husband, he was working long hours as a farmer. And we had 5 children then in 6 years.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
so so we have this really busy farm life, and then we have this really crazy family life. And so, so those were kind of the external forces that were pressing in on our marriage. But then there were these internal forces. We were not communicating well, and we were not fighting well. And so this kind of creeping separateness, an emotional space grew in our marriage. And I can still remember the night that changed that for us. We were sitting in our farm truck outside our favorite restaurant. And I don't know why these things happen on dates, but I looked at him and I said, I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And he said, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you can't do this anymore? And I said, I can't do marriage like this anymore. So we had committed to each other on the day that we married that if we needed help, we would get the help that we needed. And this was that conversation. And we said again, okay, we're going to get the help that we need in order to get well again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that night it disrupted what was not working in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that we would get the help that we needed. And so the very next day I went to my mother-in-law's because she had a shelf full of self-help books. And I thought, well, we're going to start there.
Yeah.
And we started with Dr. Gary Smalley's book, Making Love Last Forever. And he taught us how to communicate in a healthy way. He taught us that conflict was the doorway to intimacy, into me you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. And I've seen that over and over again, that when we conflict well, we get to see into each other. And
Yeah.
not only that, but I've also learned I get to see into me
Mm.
when I conflict in better ways and healthier ways. And so as we were reading and applying, because I believe that knowledge alone is just useless
Yes. Yeah.
unless I apply what I'm learning. And as we were applying what we were learning, we fell in love again.
Wow.
And then we looked at each other and said, okay, we can't keep this to ourselves. We have to share this with other people. And so very soon afterwards, as we were getting well, we were hosting weekend retreats for couples. And then we started hosting courses for couples. And we would partner with other churches in our area to
Mm.
bring other people along on this journey of how do we make marriage better?
Yeah.
And how do we communicate more effectively and more impactfully so that our children have healthy and happy homes? Like, what is the use of just being together?
Yes.
Let's create this really safe, beautiful environment for our children to grow up in. So this is why I do what I do as a coach, speaker, and trainer, because I know, I know that if I can learn the skills, I am a peace-loving, conflict avoider, recovering people pleaser. My name is Anne.
I love it. I laugh because I can totally relate. That's all.
I know that other people can learn these valuable skills to communicate and to conflict in healthier ways to
Yeah.
make our relationships better and to be closer and to have happier, healthier homes.
Wow, I love that. You're such a good storyteller. I was on the edge of my seat. I'm like hoping and praying it worked out and that that's him behind you, but you just never know, right? Because unfortunately, some of these end up in, I can't do this anymore. Okay, bye, So that just sounds like a super mature decision to make at a young age of 18, if I'm doing math right, that, hey, we're going to commit to each other forever. If we need help, we're going to get it. I mean, that's
Yes.
huge. And then years later to say, okay, we need help. What do we need? What are we going to do? I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing because you are so not alone in that. Oh, and I have teenagers, so I'm just thinking of them, as they're starting relationships. I mean, there's so many ways to go here, but okay. So tell us, what does somebody do if they're at that point? Like, I need help. Reach out to someone like you. What are you offering? What do you have that
Yes.
has helped you and that now you're helping others?
Yes, so I prepare people for marriage. So I help them with pre-marriage work. I have a course for that, and I work one-on-one with women in particular. I have a course. I have a membership for Christian women called the Sisterhood Journey membership, and I'm just so excited about that, Miranda. Just the
Awesome.
changes and the growth that women are experiencing within that membership is
Mm,
so exciting. And I just love watching the transformation that happens
yeah.
as I continue to learn. I'm always a student. And so
Yeah.
I want to be out in front learning and then just passing down the good things that I'm learning to the people who are working with me. And so I also have a program for singles and single again and for teenagers called How to Avoid Falling for a Jerk. We're starting that this week. It's a 5-week course. Fantastic course. It's been written by Dr. John Vanette, not my work, but I've been teaching it now for about well over 10 years
Wow.
in our local jail, and because they need help in supporting their
Yeah.
sobriety
Yeah.
and in a home for addicts. And as well, I'm teaching it online for the first time, and I'm very
Yay.
excited.
That's great.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So what about somebody that says, I don't feel supported? I like if your husband isn't interested in getting help. What do you say to
Mhm.
somebody that says that?
I know I've seen it again and again that one person can make a difference in
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah.
So I like to differentiate between a difficult marriage and a toxic marriage. So ours was a difficult marriage. We had these external forces, we didn't, but then we had these internal forces too. So we didn't have the skills that we needed. And so
Right.
ours was a difficult marriage. I think there are many of us that are in difficult marriages. We just don't have the skills that we need. And then as one person, it takes a hero, as
Yeah.
one person learns better skills and they learn to communicate more effectively, they learn to listen,
Mm.
to understand instead of to respond, then it starts to change the dance. And the other person is like, who are you? This
Yeah.
isn't the way we do this. We know each other's scripts, right?
You got to shake things up every now and then.
Right.
Yes.
And I have seen it again and again where one person learns the skills and the other person responds, and it changes the dance of the marriage and it makes the marriage better.
Ah, I love that.
But
Beautiful.
then there is also the case where it's a very toxic marriage, and I've seen that too, where one person works on the marriage, the other person doesn't come along. In fact, they start to use the skills against the other person. But then the person that one who's trying, they know what they've got in the end, and
Yeah.
they know then where to go next. And so
Yeah.
I've helped women who are in abusive relationships to walk out of those
Mhm.
relationships as well
Mhm.
and support her as she's beginning to make those changes.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying. That's really helpful. I love that. So I want to know more, but first tell us where we can find you on the internet. Tell us your website and all of that.
Sure. My company is For Better Forever. That's the numerical number 4 and the numerical number 4 for Better Forever. And I am at forbetterforever.com, and I am on Facebook at For Better Forever. And my name is Ann Visser, and you can find me, that's Visser And I also have can I give a free gift to your audience
Of
as
course.
well?
Yeah, we love free.
Okay, yeah. So I have a 7-day challenge. It's a 7-day challenge to help you communicate, prepare for your next pivotal conversation, because that conversation that we had in the truck outside our favorite restaurant, that was a pivotal conversation that shifted the way we were doing marriage, that shifted and put me on a personal growth journey, honestly. And so this is how to prepare for your next pivotal conversation. And you can get that 7-day challenge. Each day we send you a short video with a simple action step. And that's at forbetterforever.com/challenge.
Awesome. I will put that in the notes, but thank you. Thank you. So, who is this ideal for? I mean, the obvious answer is you talked about women, you talked about men, you talked about teenagers, you talked about single. Is it really everybody? I mean, I feel like I have learned so much about how important communication is. And I love that you say you're always a student, because I'm always learning and growing and I never feel like I got it all figured out. So, who would you say this is for?
So this 7-day challenge would be for men or women.
Okay.
I primarily work with women. I also work with couples. And I do everything relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do, because I think it's so important for couples to prepare for marriage. And so that young couple that's getting ready, but I also wanted to back it up and help singles to get ready for relationships. So whether they're single or single again, what to look for, what does toxic look like, and how do you tell the difference between difficult and toxic? So we talk about that in the How to Avoid Falling for a Jerk program.
I love it. I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
you just make my heart happy. I can just feel your love. I can just feel your, I love somebody that kind of takes that pain and learns and grows and then helps other people doing it. I just feel like that's kind of just design. We're just designed that way. So what was your background before? I mean, obviously 5 children, but farming, what else?
I was a stay-at-home mom for many years, and then worked in our community, worked in my church as a volunteer on the worship
Yeah.
team and whatnot, and instrumental in growing our church, and in working and partnering with other churches as well in our larger, broader Christian community,
Mm,
partnering with other churches to build healthy marriages.
I love that. Tell me about your kids. How are their communication? And, obviously I feel like as a mom, we're trying to coach our kids their whole lives, right? But sometimes they almost need to hear it from somebody else, right? So tell me about your kids, how that relationship is. And is this kind of for parents to communicate with
Yeah.
kids as well?
Yeah, so I am so thankful that we started to make these changes while our kids were at home. So we had many, many dinner table talks about, well, what is healthy relationships? What does toxic look like? How do we communicate better? And my kids are now all grown, and I have 11 grandchildren,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's such a beautiful thing to have your kids come back to you and say, thanks, mom. Like,
Oh,
thanks for those conversations.
yeah.
Thanks for, I used to, when our kids were teenagers, this will be a really helpful hint for moms of teens. So when our kids were teenagers, I would purposefully work in the kitchen at 12 o'clock at night. Because when your kids are out and let's say their curfew is 12
Yeah.
o'clock, when they
Yeah.
come home at 12 o'clock, that's when they want to talk. And
100%.
so I just made this safe space for them. They didn't have to talk, but
Yeah.
I was there in the kitchen. They had to come through the
Love
kitchen to get
that.
anywhere in the house. So we made this safe space where I was there and they could talk if they wanted to. And there were many conversations as they were
Yes.
coming home from some sort of event or date.
Yes.
And that was a great opportunity just to let them talk and just to hear their voices, those valuable voices of our teens.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so,
I have
and I
two
think,
sisters, and I feel like half the time I'm laying in bed as they're getting home. So I'm like, okay, how could I do that? I would have to take a nap and then be up at midnight cooking or doing whatever it is in the kitchen. But that is a great strategy. I love that.
yeah, it was really beneficial to let our kids talk and to hear their voices and what was happening in their lives. And it gave me opportunity to coach, as you say, and
Yeah.
especially as they get to be teens, it is more about coaching than it is, and it's more about influencing than it is directing.
Yeah. So that's good too. Yeah, very much. All right. Well, I love this. I mean, you guys check her out. I love this free 7-day challenge. Does that start at a certain time or you can sign up whenever?
You can sign up whenever. That's ready
Love
for you
it.
anytime.
And then just the last question, and again, I'll put the show notes in here, I'll put the website in here, but tell us more about the sisterhood. I like this concept of community, accountability. I'm guessing
Yes.
like a safe space. I mean, gosh, if you're like, I feel like many other people, just we feel a little disconnected right now. I mean, we can connect on Zoom and things like that, but just in person is, up and coming. I feel like anyone could benefit from that. So I'd love to hear about that.
I was virtual before COVID, so I've continued to be virtual. So the Sisterhood Journey is virtual
Okay.
meeting. And so we meet 3 times. So there's the Diamond membership. We meet 3 times a month. And we are going through, we have 4 lanes of communication: people talk, leadership talk, self-talk, and God talk. And so right now we're currently going through pivotal conversations. What does that mean? And how do we apply that to our lives as Christian women? And so we meet 3 times a month, and there's great accountability. And we also have Sabbath interviews. I would love to have you on, Miranda, for a Sabbath interview
Boy.
where, yeah, I invite other experts in to talk about what they're good at. And so recently we just had Sarah Fisher talk about Hebrew. She studies Hebrew, and it's just beautiful. So
Wow.
we provide a lot of resources within the Sisterhood Journey. We also have the gold level membership, which is there are no meetings for that. There's simply the content on our membership site. And so
Yeah.
they get all of the content. Every week we put new content up there for our sisters.
I love it. Well, again, it was just an honor to connect. I love meeting new people. I love just giving people the opportunity, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And just, hey, I might need help. I need help. I need help communicating. What are my resources? I mean, there's so much out there. Sometimes it's overwhelming. So this just sounds like a great opportunity for people to check out. So I'm honored to have you on and just blessed to know you. And I want to check you out and learn more. So I hope you all had a great time listening. And thank you so much, Anne, for being on.
Thanks, Miranda, for having me on the Valuable Voices podcast. Appreciate it. It's great to meet you.
Awesome. God bless you all. Have a great day. Bye bye.